Okay, we're present in the 107th Police Precinct. The date is Sunday, February 5th, 2017, and the time is about 10:33 a.m.
This is Channel Lewis. At the time of this recording, he's a young, unemployed 20-year-old man who lives with his mother, 3 sisters, and their children in a low-income house. They live on the east side of New York. He's a child of 2 Jamaican immigrants and graduated from a high school that specializes for students with learning disabilities. He's currently being questioned by 3 Queens detectives.
Present in the room with me at this time are Detective Barry Brown, ADA Michael Curtis, video technician Joseph Deal, and Chanel Lewis. Okay, Chanel, I'm about to be reading you your rights. After that, if you agree to speak with me, you may, if you wish, make a statement about and answer questions about an incident that occurred on August 2nd, 2016.
On August 2nd, 2016, a 30-year-old woman by the name of Karina Vetrano went out for a jog. Karina was an extremely active woman who was training for an upcoming marathon in Cuba. She was born on July 12, 1986 in Queens, New York to the parents Philip and Kathy. Her dad Philip was a New York City Fire Department retiree who would regularly join her on her runs. She attended St. John's University and achieved a master's degree in speech pathology. Although she had big dreams to be a writer, she remained in her hometown where she worked with those who had autism in Manhattan. Unfortunately, on that late afternoon of August 2nd, Karina would go on her very last run. She had plans to meet her father, however, due to back problems, he couldn't join her. Worried about her safety, her father asked if she was sure about running alone, and Karina assured him that she would be fine without him. This is the last time Karina was seen alive. Make sure you stick around as the following case has a lot of conspiracy around it, which I will explain later on. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider joining the community and subscribing. I post weekly.
All right, Chanel, why don't we start with, I think it was a Tuesday evening on August 2nd, 2016. Do you remember that date and that evening?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And where were you at that time?
I was in at the Gateway and Spring Creek Mall.
Okay, by Gateway and Spring Creek Mall?
Spring Creek Park.
Park?
Yeah.
All right. Were you inside the park?
Yeah,
Okay. And was anyone with you, or were you by yourself?
by myself.
All right. About what time did you get to the park?
About 5 o'clock.
All right. And how did you enter the park? From what street?
From Bell Parkway.
From where the Bell Parkway entrance is to the
Yeah.
park? All right. And what kind of park is this? What does it look like inside? Are the trees, grass, benches?
More like large grass.
High grass? Are there any trails in the park?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And were you on a trail or were you in the grass?
On the trail.
Okay.
The park the detective is referencing is called Spring Creek in Queens, New York. It's a park that Karina would regularly jog at with her father and also a place Channel would go to blow off steam. Although Channel had no criminal past, he was known for having a hatred for women after telling a teacher's aide he wanted to stab all girls at his school several years earlier. He was described as a mentally unstable loner and was taken into protective custody numerous times. In fact, it was his previous snooping around the nearby neighborhood which put him on the map as a possible suspect.
What kind of trail is it? Paved or dirt or what?
It's kind of like dirt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. About what time would you say you got to the park that night? That evening?
About 5.
Okay. What was the weather like? Was it rainy, cloudy, sunny?
Well, it looked like it rained like in the morning and then got sunny in the evening.
Okay. And while you were in the park, do you remember what you were wearing that day?
It was a hoodie, a sweatpants, and a shoes.
Okay. What color was the hoodie? Do you remember?
Most likely brown.
Mm-hmm. And the sweatpants?
I think it's probably black.
All right. And the shoes, were they shoes or sneakers?
I think sneakers.
Okay. Do you remember what color they were, what kind?
Mm.
Okay. Now, while you were in the park, did something happen?
Yes.
What happened while you were in the park?
While in the park, there was this girl jogging, and then you know, one thing led to another because some other situation.
All right. Well, the girl that was jogging, was she by herself or with anybody else?
By herself.
What did she look like? What was she wearing?
Was want to say she looked like she wore a yellow tank top, maybe.
Okay. What kind of pants?
I wouldn't really know.
Were they long or short? Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember if they long pants or short pants? No?
Mm.
Okay. And was she jogging? Was she coming from the same direction that you came from when you entered the park?
No, we go opposite directions.
Okay. And when you first saw her, where were you? Were you in the grass or were you on the trail?
On the trail.
All right. And were you moving or were you standing still?
Like I was moving, listening to music,
You were walking or jogging?
walking.
Walking? And you were walking towards her?
This is where the divide starts to be formed by people who view this case. You'll notice this whole interview, the detective will constantly ask Channel close-ended questions. Usually you'll see detectives ask the suspect to explain their whole side of the story, questioning them along the way. However, in this instance, the detective doesn't and continues to ask him very specific questions, usually following it with 2 or 3 possible answers. Some people believe that this is a coerced interview in which the detectives abuse Channel's mental state to get him to confess. For someone with a mental disability, it might just be easier to agree with the questioning to have it end sooner. On the other hand, it's very possible the detective has just chosen to use this type of questioning due to Channel's mental disability. It can be very hard to get someone to open up and explain things if they are very reserved.
When you first saw her, though, were you walking towards her or the same direction as her? When you first saw her?
We walked towards each other.
Towards each other, okay. And she was jogging, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you know if she had anything on her head or in her hands, do you remember, as she was approaching you?
She might have had a phone.
Okay. And where was her phone? Was it in her hand or was it clipped to her clothes, do you remember?
It was in her hand.
Okay. And you said as she got next to you, when she got next to you as she was running and you were walking, what happened then?
And then, because of a past situation, I got angry and then started hitting her and stuff like that.
Okay. Before you did, where did you hit her?
Like in the face and like in the mouth.
In the face and the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Before you hit her, did you grab her or did you just hit her right away?
Like kind of grabbed her first.
Grabbed her? And like, how did you grab her? What part of her body did you grab?
Like I started hitting her because of the incident that was going on earlier.
Right, but did you grab her before you started hitting her, or was the first thing you did was to hit her? What was the first thing you did?
I grabbed her.
Okay. And how did you grab her?
Like this.
Okay. With both hands?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what part of her body did you grab? Do you remember? Her shoulders, her waist, her neck? Do you remember?
Probably like around here.
Okay, around the shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And when you grabbed her, what happened then?
And then I started hitting her and stuff like that.
All right. Now, did you hit her with both hands?
Probably, yeah.
All right. And what part of her body did you hit with your hands?
I didn't hit any part of her body.
Her face?
Just the face.
Just the face? All right. About how many times did you hit her in the face?
Around 5.
All right. Was she standing when you started to hit her, or was she on the ground?
She was on the ground.
Okay. So when did she fall to the ground? After you grabbed her? All right. Now, when she fell to the ground, was she lying in the path, or was she off the path? The pathway. When she fell to the ground and you were hitting her, was she on the pathway or was she off the pathway?
She's kind of on the pathway.
All right. About how wide is this path, would you say? Like,
About a couple of feet.
okay. So it's not that wide, right?
Mm.
All right. And when you were hitting her in the face, was she face up or face down?
She was like face up.
Face up. Did she say anything at all? No. Did she scream?
Because her tooth broke.
I'm sorry? Her tooth broke? Right. Were you covering her mouth at all?
Mm.
No? Okay. The tooth that broke, was it like in the front, the top, or the bottom? Do you remember?
No.
Okay. How long would you say you were hitting her for? About how long in time, I mean?
The whole thing was like about 5 minutes.
5 minutes? All right. And did you do anything else to her besides hit her? Did you put her hands on any other part of her body?
No.
Okay. Around her neck or anything?
Yeah, there was kind of
sorry?
Yeah.
You put her hands on around her neck? Okay.
You just seen another instance of why some people are speculating that he was coached into this. The detective asked him if after punching Karina did he put his hands anywhere else on her body. Channel is quick to respond with a no, but then the detective quickly nudges in the idea that Channel put his hands around her neck. You saw him mumble a little bit, but ultimately go along with that idea, contradicting what he just confidently said moments ago.
Do you remember, was it one hand or both hands?
Both.
Both? All right. And how long did you have your hands around her neck?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you squeeze her neck when you had your hands around her neck?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You don't remember for how long, though? Okay.
Because I was mad at the incident.
You were mad about an incident. Okay, we're going to get to that in a little bit, all right? I just want to find out like, what happened, all right? And was she still moving when you had your hands around her neck?
Oh, yeah, and then she dropped into the water.
Okay. Well, when you had your hands around the neck, was she on the ground or standing up?
She's still on the ground.
On the ground. Face up or face down?
Face up.
All right. And then how did her face go in the water?
I was strangling. We were near the water, and then I put her face in the ground.
Okay. You were
So
strangling
she
her,
fell
you
in the
said?
water.
And you put her...
No, she fell in the water,
Okay.
and then my hand was bleeding, so I went to wash off all the blood.
Okay. Which hand do you remember? You just showed me your right hand, right? Your right hand? Where was it bleeding? What part of the hand? Your knuckle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when her face went in the water, was she face up or face down?
Down.
Down? All right.
Face up.
A face up?
Yes.
All right. Was the water covering her face?
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you hold her under the water?
Actually, I didn't hold on to the water. When I came back, she was just...
Oh, you didn't hold her under the water? Okay. Was she moving when you put her face in the water?
So when she was not moving.
Okay. What do you remember? Was she still moving when you had your hands around her neck? At all?
Mm-hmm.
How was she moving? What was she doing?
Like, she wasn't really moving that much.
Okay. Did she try to hit you or touch your body at all during this time? Okay. What did she do?
Like, try to scratch me.
Okay. And did she scratch you? Where did she scratch you?
Like, on my face.
Okay. Would that be on the right side of your face?
Probably one of these two, though.
Okay. Did she leave a mark or a scratch on your face?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So at some point before she went into the water, she had stopped moving. Is that right?
Mm?
She stopped moving before her face went into the water, correct? All right. Did
Kinda.
I'm sorry.
I kinda did.
Kinda did. All right. What could you tell if she was breathing or not?
What you said? Repeat the last question.
Could you tell if she was breathing?
No, the other one.
Oh, before that? I said,
Yeah.
oh, at some point before she went into the water, she stopped moving, and you said kind of, right?
This is like after the water.
Well, that when you put her in the
Yeah.
water, was she still moving
I
then?
didn't put in the water. She fell in the
She
water.
fell. Was she moving then?
After that, she wasn't moving.
Okay.
Did she fall in the water when you first threw her to the ground, or when you're on the ground with her hitting her? Did she like kind of move towards the water?
It was more like a strangulation, and then she rolled into the water.
So it was after you had your hands on her neck that she went in the water.
Mhm.
All right. And what did you do then? After that?
After that, she was just lying there, and then I got her by her ankles, and then picked her up back from her back and put her in the bushes.
Okay. Can you just describe to me like how you moved her? What part of the body were you holding when you moved her?
Like on the hands. And
Okay,
lifting up her back.
Were your hands holding her arms, or were your hands under her arms, or
Like holding it.
your hands were holding one hand on each one of her hands?
Like how you just grab and just put somebody there.
You were dragging her by the hands or the arms, right?
Yeah.
And when you dragged her, was she facing down onto the ground or facing up to the sky?
Up to the sky.
Facing up. Okay.
No.
What was the status of her clothing? How was her clothing
Kind of
arranged?
like pulled off.
Pulled off?
Yeah.
Okay, what was pulled off?
Like her clothes,
Her shirt, her pants?
her pants.
What about her shirt?
Sure, I think it was still intact.
Still?
Maybe.
Okay. And when you say her pants were pulled off, were they totally off, or were they half on or half off? What were they?
Look like kind of half off.
Okay. Were they down or up? I mean, her pants.
Kind of like down.
Okay. What about her underwear?
Maybe it was down too.
Okay. Did you touch her in any way in her vagina or her anus at all?
Mm-mm.
Not at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Now, you said that you did this because you had some anger, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Channel claims that he would regularly visit the park whenever he was angry. A lot of the times, this stemmed from getting into arguments with his family.
Did she say anything to you? Was she able to, other than maybe if she screamed, was she able to communicate at all? Say any words, any sentences? Did you say anything to her while it's happening?
Mm-mm.
The first murder trial began on November 5th, 2018. Channel had pleaded not guilty to murder and sexual abuse charges and faced a sentence of either 25 years or life in prison. The first trial ended with a hung jury due to defensive arguments as well as claims that the DNA evidence was contaminated. Karina's father corrupted the crime scene after discovering her by hugging and holding her lifeless body. Detectives also assume that the act was performed by one lone male, which means evidence that suggests multiple people attacked were overlooked. In the retrial of April 23, 2019, Channel was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Channel still maintains his innocence to this day and believed his guilty verdict was racially motivated and that there was a possible DNA tampering that encouraged his guilty sentence. One interesting note is that between Trial 1 and Trial 2, an anonymous letter was mailed to the office of Channel's defense lawyers from an alleged law enforcement source that suggests that key evidence was held that could ultimately exonerate him. Defense attorneys said that the 3-page type letter led to several meetings after which they believed their actual suspects were 2 jacked up white guys from Howard Beach. I'm genuinely curious to know what your opinion is on this case, so please leave a comment, and if you enjoyed this video, do subscribe, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.